I stared at my phone screen at exactly 3 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon. Mom's text glowed there like a verdict. Don't call or come over. We're done. 28 years of being the family scapegoat, and this was how it ended. Not with an argument, not with tears, just a cold dismissal via text message. I typed back 2 words. Got it. No begging. No questions. Just acceptance. By midnight that same night, 3 things happened that Mom never saw coming. My golden child sister Bridget crashed her Mercedes into Mom's garage while drunk. Dad's secret phone fell out at dinner, his mistress's name flashing across the cracked screen. And the family lawyer called me asking why Grandma Dorothy had named me sole executor of her $4.2 million estate. Mom's final text arrived at 11:47 p.m. We need to talk. Now. I put my phone on silent and poured myself a glass of wine. Could she win? Before I tell you exactly how 28 years of family abuse came crashing down in one single night, I need to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments because this story proves that toxic families exist everywhere, and justice can come from the most unexpected places. If you've ever been the black sheep in your family, the one who was never good enough no matter what you accomplished, hit that like button right now. Subscribe and turn on notifications because family revenge stories like this one don't come around often, and you're going to want to see how karma works when you stop fighting it and just step back. Trust me, what happened by sunrise the next day was something my mother never could have predicted. Now, let me take you back to where this all really started. 6 months before that text message destroyed my mother's world, I was still playing my assigned role perfectly. The family disappointment, the one who never quite measured up, the scapegoat who absorbed all the criticism so everyone else could look good by comparison. My name is Hazel, and for 28 years, I'd been conditioned to believe I was the problem. Every family dinner, every holiday gathering, every phone call reinforced the same narrative. I wasn't successful enough. I wasn't pretty enough. I wasn't worthy enough to be a real member of the family. My sister Bridget could do no wrong. At 25, she was supposedly in medical school, engaged to a wealthy surgeon named Kenneth, and living the life my mother Patricia had always dreamed about. Meanwhile, I was 30, single after my fiancé Landon had left me 6 months earlier, and working as what Mom called just a graphic designer. The way she said it made it sound like I collected garbage for a living. Every Sunday, we had mandatory family dinners at Mom's house. I'd show up with a bottle of wine, usually something in the $20 to $30 range that I thought was decent. Mom would look at the label and make some comment about my budget taste or ask if I'd gotten it on sale. Bridget would bring nothing and get praised for gracing us with her presence despite her busy schedule. Dad, whose name was Russell, never said much. He'd sit at the head of the table, eat his food, and grunt occasionally in agreement with whatever Mom said. I used to think he was just conflict avoidant. I later learned he was simply a coward who'd made his choice about which family members mattered decades ago. The Sunday that really set everything in motion was when Bridget announced her engagement. Kenneth had proposed with a massive diamond ring that probably cost more than I made in 6 months. Mom immediately started planning the wedding, not asking Bridget what she wanted, planning it. Venue, flowers, dress, guest list, all decided within an hour of the announcement. Then Mom turned to me with that smile I'd learned to dread. The one that looked sweet but carried poison. Hazel, as Bridget's only sister, we'll expect you to contribute to the wedding. We're thinking $10,000 from you would be appropriate. It's family, after all. I almost choked on my wine. $10,000. That was a quarter of my annual income after taxes and business expenses. Mom, I can contribute $2,000. That's what I've budgeted for a wedding gift. The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. $2,000? Mom's voice went sharp. After everything we've done for you? After we raised you? Fed you? Gave you a home? I've been financially independent since I was 19, I said quietly. I paid for my own college, my own car, my own apartment. I've never asked you for money. We gave you life, Mom snapped. You exist because of us. Everything you have is because we brought you into this world. You owe us everything. Bridget joined in, right on cue. You're just jealous because Kenneth would never want someone like you. You can't stand to see me happy. I looked at Dad, hoping for just once he might say something. Anything. He picked up his phone and scrolled through it like the conversation wasn't happening. That night, I went home and cried for the first time in months. Not because of what they'd said. I'd heard worse. But because some small stupid part of me had kept hoping that eventually, if I was patient enough, kind enough, understanding enough, they'd finally see me as worthy of basic respect. 2 days later, I found out I'd been removed from the family group chat and a new one had been created. I only discovered this because my Aunt Maureen accidentally added me to it while trying to forward a message. Before she could remove me, I saw 3 months of messages. Messages mocking my appearance, my career, my failed engagement. Messages where Mom said things like, Hazel is coming to dinner Sunday. Hide your valuables. She's probably broke again. Where Bridget wrote, why do we even invite her? She brings the vibe down. Where Dad's only contributions were laughing emoji reactions to the cruelest comments. I took screenshots of everything. I didn't know why yet. Just instinct that I might need proof someday that I wasn't crazy or overly sensitive. That this was real, but I didn't confront them. I didn't cause drama. I just kept showing up to Sunday dinners like nothing had changed, because there was one person in that family who actually loved me, and I wasn't going to let their cruelty cost me time with her. My grandmother, Dorothy Thompson, 86 years old, living in an assisted living facility, and the only family member who'd ever treated me like I mattered. I visited her every Wednesday evening and called her every single day. Not because I wanted inheritance, not because I felt obligated, but because talking to Grandma was the only time I felt like someone actually cared whether I lived or died. During one of those visits, about a month after the wedding contribution demand, Grandma said something that seemed random at the time. I see everything, sweetheart. Just wait. I smiled and squeezed her hand, thinking she was just being encouraging. I had no idea she'd been planning something for months. Something that would change everything. 4 months before the text that ended my relationship with my mother, the wedding pressure reached a breaking point. Mom called me at work, which she knew I hated. I was in the middle of a client presentation, but her name flashing on my screen sent a jolt of anxiety through me. Patricia didn't call during business hours unless she wanted to embarrass me or assert control. I excused myself and stepped into the hallway. Hi, Mom. Hazel, we need to discuss your contribution to Bridget's wedding. The deposit for the venue is due next week, and you haven't sent your share. I told you I can contribute $2,000. That's what I can afford. $2,000 is insulting. Her voice was ice cold. The flowers alone are costing more than that. Do you want people to know you couldn't even properly support your own sister's wedding? What will they think of our family? They'll think you planned an expensive wedding, I said quietly. If you can't come up with $10,000, then don't bother coming to the wedding. Actually, don't bother coming to any family events. We're tired of making accommodations for your selfishness. She hung up before I could respond. I stood in that hallway, phone still pressed to my ear, and felt something inside me crack. Not break. Just crack, like the first line in a windshield that you know will eventually spread. That evening, I went to visit Grandma Dorothy. Her assisted living apartment was small but comfortable, filled with photographs and books and the smell of lavender. She took one look at my face and knew. What did Patricia do now? I told her everything. The wedding demands, the ultimatum, the years of being treated like I was defective. Grandma listened quietly, her thin hands folded in her lap. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Hazel, I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen carefully and not interrupt." Something in her tone made my spine straighten. This wasn't sweet grandma voice. This was the voice of the woman who'd run her own business for 40 years and took exactly zero nonsense from anyone. 3 years ago, I gave your mother power of attorney over my finances. I was starting to forget things, and I thought it was responsible to have someone manage my accounts if I became incapable. My stomach dropped. I knew where this was going. Over the past 3 years, Patricia has withdrawn $127,000 from my accounts. I couldn't breathe. "Grandma," I said, "don't interrupt." Her voice was gentle but firm. "I know about every single withdrawal. I review my bank statements. I'm old, sweetie, not senile." She pulled out a folder from her desk drawer. Inside were bank statements, highlighted and annotated in her neat handwriting. Every withdrawal documented. Every lie recorded. She told me the money was for facility upgrades, for my care, for things I needed. Grandma's voice was steady, but I could see the pain in her eyes. The money actually paid for Bridget's medical school tuition, designer handbags, a family vacation to Hawaii that I wasn't invited to because I'd be too much trouble to accommodate. "Why didn't you stop her?" The question came out as a whisper, because I wanted to see how far she'd go. Grandma opened another folder. "This is documentation from my lawyer, Sterling. He's been tracking everything. We've been building a case for financial elder abuse for 18 months. I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me. "There's more," Grandma continued. "The money also paid off Russell's gambling debts. $64,000 your father owes to various casinos and sports betting sites. Patricia knew. She's been covering for him for years." She handed me another document. "This is my will, updated last month. You're the sole executor and the primary beneficiary of my estate. Total value is approximately $4.2 million. House, investments, savings." "Grandma, I don't want your money. I just want you." Her eyes filled with tears. "I know, baby. That's exactly why you're getting it. Patricia visits me once a month, and every single visit includes asking me for money. Russell hasn't visited in 6 months. Bridget came twice last year, both times to show off expensive things she bought with my stolen money. You visit me every week. You call me every day. You bring me books from the library because you know I love to read and my eyes are too bad to go myself. You don't want anything from me except my time and my love." She pulled out one more document. "I'm not going to confront Patricia yet. I'm going to let her keep thinking she's gotten away with it. I want to see what else she'll do, how much further she'll go. And when the time is right, when she's shown her absolute worst, then we'll act." "But why wait?" I asked. "Because sometimes, Hazel, the best revenge is simply stepping back and letting people destroy themselves. Patricia is going to keep pushing, keep demanding, keep showing exactly who she is. And when she finally cuts you off completely, when she tells you that you're no longer family because you won't fund her delusions, that's when everything will come to light." "How do you know she'll cut me off?" Grandma smiled sadly. "Because I know my daughter. She doesn't love you any less than she loves Bridget. She doesn't love either of you at all. You're both just props in the performance of her perfect life. But you stopped playing your role. You stopped apologizing for existing. That makes you dangerous to her narrative. She'll get rid of you." I sat with that for a moment. "Are you sure you want to do this? I'm 86 years old, sweetie. I have stage 4 cancer that I haven't told anyone about except Sterling. The doctors give me maybe 6 months. I'm going to die soon. But before I do, I'm going to make sure you're protected, that you're financially secure, and that Patricia understands there are consequences for cruelty." I started crying then. Not delicate tears, but ugly, gasping sobs. Grandma held me the way she had when I was little and had scraped my knee or been excluded from a birthday party. "You're going to be okay," she whispered. "Better than okay. You're going to be free." 2 months before everything exploded, My mother turned 55. She planned an elaborate birthday dinner at the most expensive restaurant in town, the kind of place where appetizers cost $30 and the wine list requires a sommelier to interpret. I bought her a gift I'd spent weeks creating, a leather-bound photo album filled with pictures I'd collected from family members, old photographs I'd scanned and restored digitally. Memories spanning 5 decades. I'd written captions for each photo, little stories about the moments captured. It took me 40 hours of work. The restaurant was beautiful. Mom had invited 30 people, mostly her friends from the country club and her book club. Bridget was there with Kenneth, both of them dressed like they were attending a royal wedding. Dad sat quietly, looking uncomfortable in a suit that was too tight. When it came time for gifts, Bridget presented hers first. A Tiffany bracelet, the distinctive blue box making everyone ooh and ah. $3,000 worth of silver and diamonds. "You're so thoughtful, Bridget," Mom gushed, immediately putting it on and showing everyone at nearby tables. Then it was my turn. I handed her the wrapped album, suddenly feeling foolish. Homemade gift versus Tiffany. I already knew how this would play. Mom opened it in front of everyone, looked at the cover, flipped through a few pages, then laughed. Actually laughed. "How cheap," she said loudly enough for nearby tables to hear. "Bridget got me Tiffany and you made a scrapbook? What are we, in elementary school?" Her friends laughed. Kenneth whispered something to Bridget. She smirked. "I spent 40 hours restoring those photos and writing the stories," I said quietly. "Well, maybe spend 40 hours earning money so you can buy real gifts." Mom set the album aside without looking at it again. "But thank you, I suppose. It's the thought that counts. Even if the thought is, I'm too broke to buy something nice." The dinner continued. Course after course of food I didn't want, conversation I wasn't included in, wine I couldn't afford. When the bill came, Mom announced cheerfully, "We'll split it evenly, 6 ways." The total was $2,400. My share would be $400 for a meal I'd barely touched and an evening of humiliation. I paid without comment, put my credit card down, signed the receipt, and smiled like everything was fine. As we were leaving, Kenneth pulled Bridget aside, but I overheard. "Is your sister always this pathetic?" "She's the family disappointment," Bridget replied, not even lowering her voice. "Mom keeps hoping she'll improve, but honestly, it's probably genetic. Some people just don't have it in them to succeed." I drove home that night and immediately went to see Grandma, even though it was late. She was still awake, reading by lamplight. "Bad dinner?" she asked, taking one look at my face. She laughed at my gift in front of 30 people. Grandma closed her book. I watched the whole thing. "What?" She gestured to her tablet. "You set up that video call app for me last month, remember? So we could watch movies together when you can't visit? I had you call me before dinner and leave the connection open." I watched everything. I'd completely forgotten about the call. I'd opened the app when I parked, planning to show Grandma the restaurant, then got distracted and left it running in my purse. "I'm sorry you had to see that," I said. "I'm not." Grandma's voice was steel. I needed to see it. Sterling needed to see it. We've been documenting, but seeing it happen in real time, with witnesses, that's evidence that can't be disputed. She pulled out her folder again, now significantly thicker. "We have something else to discuss. Sterling's investigator has uncovered more information about your family." The next hour changed everything I thought I knew. Russell had a mistress named Colette. They'd been together for 8 years. He'd set her up in an apartment across town, bought her a car, paid her expenses. Total cost over 8 years, $64,000. All of it hidden from Patricia through cash advances and a secret credit card. Patricia knew about the affair, had known for 5 years. She stayed because divorcing Russell would mean admitting her perfect marriage was a lie. Appearances mattered more than dignity. Bridget had failed out of medical school 4 months ago. Failed, not dropped out. Too many missed classes. Failed exams. Academic dishonesty allegations. The school had sent multiple letters to Patricia's house. Patricia had hidden them and told everyone Bridget was still enrolled. Bridget spent her days at spas and shopping, pretending to attend classes. Kenneth had no idea. He thought he was marrying a future doctor. His family had given Bridget a $50,000 engagement ring based on that assumption. "Your family is a house of cards," Grandma said, "and houses of cards don't need to be pushed. You just wait for the wind." "When do we tell them you know?" I asked. "We don't. We wait. Patricia will push you too far eventually. She'll say something unforgivable or make a demand you can't meet. And when she cuts you off, when she tells you you're no longer family, that's when the cards fall, because she won't see me coming." "How long do I have to keep pretending?" "Not long, sweetheart." Grandma took my hand. "I can feel it. She's building up to something. Some final test of whether you'll submit completely. And when you don't, she'll discard you. That's when we act." "Are you ready for this?" I asked. "It's going to destroy the family." "The family is already destroyed," Grandma said. "I'm just making sure you survive it." 2 weeks before the text that ended everything, my mother made her final demand. Bridget's bachelorette party in Miami. 5 days at a luxury resort, bottle service at exclusive clubs, spa treatments, and shopping. Cost per person, $4,000. Patricia called me at 7 a.m. on a Monday. "I'm emailing you the details for Bridget's bachelorette party. We need your deposit by Friday." "Mom, I can't afford $4,000 for a party." "It's not a party. It's a celebration of your sister's wedding. This is family obligation. I have a major client deadline that week. I can't take 5 days off. Then you're choosing work over family." Her voice went cold. "This is the problem with you, Hazel. You've always been selfish. Always put yourself first. Do you know how embarrassing it is to tell people my own daughter won't celebrate her sister's wedding?" "I'll celebrate at the actual wedding," I said, trying to stay calm. "I just can't do Miami." "Fine, don't come. But don't expect to be part of this family anymore. We're tired of making accommodations for your selfishness." She hung up. I sat in bed, phone in hand, and felt that crack in my windshield spread a little further. What my mother didn't know was that I wasn't declining because of work. I was declining because that same week I had an appointment with Sterling, Grandma's lawyer, to finalize her estate planning, to review the documentation of financial abuse, to prepare for what was coming. But the Miami trip set off something in the family group chat. The one I'd been accidentally added to months ago and had stayed in, silently observing. "Patricia, Hazel refuses to come to Miami. I'm done making excuses for her. Bridget, why do we even keep trying? She's made it clear she doesn't want to be part of this family. Russell, she's your daughter, Patricia. You deal with her. Patricia, some children are blessings. Some are lessons in patience. I've been patient for 28 years. I'm done. Aunt Maureen, maybe she really can't afford it. Patricia, then she should have made better life choices. Bridget's a doctor. Hazel plays with crayons for a living. That's not my fault. I read through months of messages, years of accumulated cruelty, documented in their own words. Every cruel joke, every mocking comment, every dismissal of my accomplishments and exaggeration of my failures. I took screenshots of everything and sent them to Sterling with a message. Add to evidence file. Then I did something I'd never done before. I kept attending Sunday dinners, kept calling Mom for her birthday, kept showing up to family events. But I stopped trying, stopped explaining myself, stopped defending my choices. I just existed in their space, gray and unremarkable, while they congratulated themselves on their superiority. The wedding invoice arrived via email 1 week later. An itemized breakdown of expected contributions from me, $3,000 for the bridesmaid dress I'd be required to wear, $2,000 for flowers with my name attached, $5,000 for family contribution to general expenses. Total, $10,000. Due in 1 week. The email ended with, "Failure to meet this obligation will result in removal from the wedding party and reconsideration of your place in family events going forward." I read it 3 times. Then I opened my banking app and made a transfer, $2,000, to Patricia's account. The amount I'd originally offered, the amount I could afford without destroying my savings. In the subject line, I wrote, "My contribution. Take it or leave it." I didn't have to wait long for her response. The phone rang within minutes. I almost didn't answer, but something told me this was it. This was the moment Grandma had predicted. The final test, the one I was going to fail on purpose. "How dare you?" Patricia's voice was shaking with rage. "How dare you disrespect your sister's wedding like this? I sent what I can afford. You sent an insult. After everything we've sacrificed for you, after we raised you, housed you, fed you, gave you every opportunity, you haven't given me anything since I was 18, I said calmly. "We gave you life. We gave you our name. We gave you a family. And this is how you repay us? By humiliating us with your poverty?" "I'm not poor, Mom. I'm just not rich. There's a difference. If you can't support this family, then you're not part of this family. Do you understand me? You contribute properly or you're out." This was it. The moment I could surrender and empty my savings account, bankrupt myself to please her, prove I was willing to destroy myself for her approval, or I could say the one word that would end everything. Okay. Silence on the other end. I don't think she expected that. She expected begging, tears, promises to find the money somehow. "Okay," she repeated. "Okay," I said again. "If that's your decision, don't you dare make this about my decision. This is about your failure to meet basic family obligations." "Okay," I said a 3rd time. "You're going to regret this." Her voice was pure venom now. When you're old and alone with no family, you're going to remember that you chose money over the people who loved you. I almost laughed at that. Loved me. She'd never loved me. I'd just been too desperate to admit it. "I have to go, Mom. I have work to do." "Of course you do. Work. Always work. Never family." I hung up without saying goodbye. Then I called Sterling. "It happened," I told him. "She made her ultimatum, and you refused," he said. "It wasn't a question. I refused." "Good. Dorothy will be pleased. She said to tell you, when this moment came, that you should be proud of yourself. That saying no to abuse isn't selfish. It's survival." "Is she okay?" I asked. Grandma had been getting weaker. "She's ready," Sterling said quietly. "She's been waiting for this. She wanted to make sure you were free before she let go." I felt tears start but pushed them back. What happens now? Now we wait. Patricia will either apologize and try to manipulate you back, or she'll double down and cut you off completely. Based on her pattern, I'd bet on the latter. He was right. The text came 2 days later. But before I tell you about that text and the chaos that followed, I need you to understand something. The moment I said no to my mother's demands, something inside me changed. That crack in my windshield finally split all the way through. And instead of shattering, it somehow made me stronger. Like I'd been held together by fear of disappointing them. And once I accepted that their disappointment was inevitable, I was finally free to just exist. If you've ever had that moment with toxic family, where you stop fighting for their approval and just let go, you know exactly what I mean. Now let me show you what happened when my mother realized I wasn't coming back. The text arrived at exactly 3 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was at my desk working on a logo design for a local brewery when my phone lit up with my mother's name. "Don't call or come over. We're done. You're no longer part of this family. Don't contact Bridget, Russell, or me ever again. We've tried with you for 28 years. We're finished trying. Lose our numbers. I read it twice. Let the words sink in. 28 years of walking on eggshells, apologizing for existing, trying to earn love from people who were incapable of giving it. And this was how it ended. A text message. Not even a phone call. I felt something unexpected. Relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. Like I'd been holding my breath underwater for nearly 3 decades. And someone had finally pulled me to the surface. My fingers moved across the keyboard almost automatically. 2 words. Got it. I didn't explain. Didn't defend myself. Didn't beg for another chance. Just acknowledged receipt of the information like it was a work email. I sat there for a moment, staring at the screen. Then I called Sterling. It happened, I said when he answered. She cut me off. Text message? How did you know? Because Patricia is a coward who can't handle confrontation when she might be challenged. This way you can't argue or defend yourself. She gets the last word. What do I do now? Now you do nothing. You said you got it. You accepted her decision. No drama, no begging. Clean break. He paused. How are you feeling? Honestly? Free. Good. That's very good. Now let me tell you what's going to happen next. Dorothy and I have been waiting for this moment. She knew it was coming. She's been preparing. Is she okay? She's ready to proceed. We've documented everything. Financial abuse, elder exploitation, fraud. We have bank records, video evidence, witness statements. Once Dorothy decides to act, everything changes very quickly. How quickly? Hours, maybe days. Dorothy wanted to wait until Patricia showed her absolute worst, until there could be no argument that this was anything other than a pattern of abuse. You being disowned for refusing to bankrupt yourself for a wedding? That's the final piece. We talked for another 10 minutes about logistics, legal procedures, what to expect. Then I called Grandma. Hi, sweetheart, she answered, her voice weak but clear. Mom just disowned me. I know. Sterling told me he thought it was coming today. How do you feel? Relieved. Is that terrible? It's honest. You've been mourning the mother you deserved for 28 years. Now you can stop hoping she'll become that person and start living without that weight. What happens now, Grandma? Now we show her that actions have consequences. I'm meeting with Sterling tomorrow to finalize everything. And then, sweetheart, you're going to watch karma work in real time. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, baby. More than you know. You're going to be okay. Better than okay. I promise. We hung up. I sat at my desk, looked at the unfinished logo on my screen, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Then my phone started buzzing with notifications. But not from my mother. From numbers I didn't recognize. And that's when things got interesting. The first call came at 5 p.m. from Kenneth's number. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. Hazel, this is Kenneth. I need to talk to you about Bridget. Call me back immediately. This is urgent. The second call was from a number I didn't know. Also voicemail. This is Officer Morrison with the county police. I'm trying to reach Patricia Thompson regarding an incident involving her daughter Bridget. If you know how to contact her, please have her call the station. The third call was from my Aunt Maureen. This one I answered. Hazel, oh my God. Have you heard? Heard what? Bridget crashed her car into your mother's garage. She's drunk. The police arrested her. Kenneth found out she's not even in medical school. He called off the wedding. Your mother is losing her mind. I sat down. When did this happen? Like an hour ago. Bridget was driving home drunk from lunch with friends. She misjudged the turn into your mom's driveway and went straight through the garage door. The police did a breathalyzer. She's getting charged with DUI. Is she okay? Was anyone hurt? She's physically fine. But Kenneth showed up to get her from the police station and found a letter from the medical school in her car. A dismissal letter from 4 months ago. He lost it. Called off the wedding right there in the parking lot. Your mom had to leave work to deal with it. It's a disaster. I should have felt satisfaction. Karma working exactly like Grandma predicted. But mostly, I just felt sad. Sad that this was my family. Sad that it had come to this. I need to go, I told Maureen. Wait, your mom said she texted you earlier today. What did she say? She said we're done. That I'm not part of the family anymore. Maureen was quiet for a moment. She said that today? Before all this happened? At 3 p.m. Oh, Hazel, I'm so sorry. She's going to try to take that back now. She's going to need you to help clean up this mess. That's not my problem anymore. I hung up and blocked my mother's number. Not out of spite, just out of self-preservation. I'd said I got it. I meant it. The fourth call came at 6:30 p.m. from my father's number. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail that was just heavy breathing and what sounded like crying. The fifth call was Sterling again. Hazel, things are moving faster than we anticipated. Your father's mistress just called the house phone looking for him, Patricia answered. She's known about the affair for years, but now it's out in the open. Everything's unraveling exactly like Dorothy predicted. This is insane. This is karma. When you build a life on lies and abuse, eventually the foundation cracks. Your mother just happens to have hit every crack simultaneously. At 8 p.m., Sterling called again. His voice was different, gentler. Hazel, I need you to sit down. My heart stopped. Grandma? Dorothy passed away about 20 minutes ago. Peacefully, in her sleep. She'd been holding on, waiting for this. Waiting to make sure you were free before she let go. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. She left you a letter. I'm going to bring it by tomorrow along with her will. The reading is scheduled for 10 a.m. day after tomorrow. I've notified Patricia, Russell, and Bridget. They're all required to attend. They don't know, do they? About the will? They have no idea. Patricia thinks she's inheriting everything. She has no clue what's coming. I cried then. For Grandma. For the loss of the only person who'd ever truly loved me. For the end of my old life and the terrifying beginning of whatever came next. At 9 p.m., I sat alone in my apartment with a glass of wine and looked at my blocked call list. 17 calls from my mother's number. 12 from Bridget. 8 from my father. At 11:47 p.m., a text came through from my mother on some app that bypassed my phone block. We need to talk. Now. Mom died. Family emergency. You need to come tomorrow. I stared at it for a long time. Read it over and over. Not I'm sorry. Not I was wrong. Not your grandmother died and I thought you should know. Just another demand. Another order. Another assumption that I existed to serve her needs. I put my phone on silent, finished my wine, and went to bed. Tomorrow would be soon enough for the reckoning. I woke at 2 a.m. to my phone vibrating endlessly on my nightstand. I'd put it on silent but forgotten to turn off the vibration. In the dim light, I could see notification after notification lighting up the screen. I grabbed it, ready to turn it off completely. But then I saw the preview of a message from Aunt Maureen. Hazel, your mom is trying to get into your apartment building. Building security called me. Can you please just talk to her? I pulled up my building security app. Sure enough, there was my mother in the lobby, arguing with the night security guard, her face red and furious even through the grainy camera feed. I called the security desk. Hi, this is Hazel in 4B. The woman in the lobby is my mother. Please tell her I'm not available and escort her out. If she refuses to leave, call the police for trespassing. You got it, Miss Thompson. I watched through the camera as the guard spoke to my mother. Watched her face transform from anger to shock to something that might have been hurt if I didn't know her better. She left. Finally, at 2:30 a.m. I couldn't sleep after that. I sat at my kitchen table with tea and tried to process everything. Grandma was gone. My mother had disowned me this morning and was now desperately trying to reach me tonight. My sister's life had imploded. My father's secrets were exposed. Everything Grandma had predicted would happen had happened. All in the span of 9 hours. My phone buzzed again. This time, a text from Russell, from a number I didn't have saved. "Hazel, it's your father. Please answer. I know your mother said things. She didn't mean them. We need to talk about Mom's arrangements. Call me." I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my email and found the message from Sterling. He'd sent it at midnight. "Hazel, attached is the letter Dorothy asked me to deliver when she passed. Read it tonight. Let it give you strength for what comes tomorrow. She loved you more than you'll ever know. S." I opened the attachment with shaking hands. It was a scanned image of Grandma's handwriting, shaky but still unmistakably hers. "My dearest Hazel, by the time you read this, I'm free. And now, so are you. I've watched them break you down for 28 years. I've watched you rise every single time. You didn't need my money. You built your own life. But you deserve it anyway, for being the only one who loved me without conditions. The only one who showed up. Don't let them make you feel guilty. I chose you because you earned it. Live beautifully. All my love, Grandma Dorothy." I read it 5 times, cried through all 5 readings. Then I printed it and put it in a frame. This letter was the last thing she'd given me. The last proof that I'd been loved by someone in my family. At 4 a.m., unable to sleep, I looked at my blocked calls list again. It had grown to 37 from my mother, 24 from Bridget, 15 from Russell, 3 from Kenneth, which surprised me. I unblocked Kenneth's number and listened to his voicemails. The first: "Hazel, this is Kenneth. I need to understand what's going on with your family. Bridget told me she was in medical school. She's been lying for months. Did you know?" The second: "I found the group chat. The one where your family talks about you." Bridget left her laptop open. "I saw everything. The way they talk about you. I'm horrified. I'm so sorry." The third: left at 1, 0 am. "I called off the wedding. Not just because of the medical school thing. Because of who they are. What they are. I thought I was marrying into a good family. I was wrong. I hope you're okay." I saved those voicemails. Not because I wanted a relationship with Kenneth, but because they were evidence that I wasn't crazy. That the cruelty had been real and visible even to outsiders. At 6 a.m., I showered and dressed carefully. Black dress, simple and professional. Today was the will reading. Today, my mother would discover that her assumed inheritance, her safety net, her solution to all the problems that had exploded yesterday, didn't exist. Sterling had texted me at 5 a.m. "Dorothy's video message is powerful. Be prepared. This will be difficult but necessary. See you at 10. I arrived at Sterling's office at 9:45 a.m. The receptionist looked at me with something like pity. "They're already here." In the conference room, I could hear my mother's voice before I even opened the door. "I don't understand why this couldn't wait. I'm dealing with a family crisis. My daughter was arrested yesterday. My husband's affair is now public knowledge. My mother died. This is the worst possible time." I opened the door. 3 heads turned. Patricia sat at the head of the conference table like she owned the place, wearing an expensive black designer dress that screamed performative grief. Her makeup was perfect. Her hair was salon fresh. She was performing mourning for an audience. Russell sat beside her, looking like he hadn't slept. His suit was wrinkled. His eyes were red. For once, he looked like he actually felt something. Bridget sat alone on the other side of the table, as far from her parents as possible. No makeup, sweatpants, and a t-shirt. Her engagement ring was gone. They all stared at me. "You came," my mother said, her voice dripping with false relief. "Thank God. We need to discuss Mom's funeral arrangements, and obviously her estate will need to be settled quickly to handle the various emergencies we're facing." I sat down without responding. Sterling entered behind me and closed the door. "Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming on short notice. Mrs. Dorothy Thompson's will requires an immediate reading upon her death. This is that reading." "Can we just skip to the distribution?" Patricia interrupted. "I need to know what resources we're working with. We have immediate expenses." "We'll proceed in the order Dorothy specified," Sterling said firmly. "First, she recorded a video message she wanted played before the will is read." "A video message?" Patricia looked confused. "When did she do that?" 3 weeks ago. Sterling set up a laptop and projector. She was very specific that this be shown first. The lights dimmed. Grandma's face appeared on the screen, and I immediately started crying. She looked so tired, so sick, but her eyes were clear and sharp. "Hello, my family. If you're watching this, I'm gone. And I have things to say I was too polite to say while living." Patricia shifted uncomfortably. "Patricia, my only child. I loved you, but I didn't like who you became. You've spent 28 years tearing Hazel down. Why? Because she reminded you that accomplishment without cruelty is possible?" My mother's mouth fell open. "Russell, you're a coward. I knew about Colette for 7 years. I saw the credit card bills when Patricia showed me, asking me to pay them. You hid from your own life and let your wife destroy your daughter." Russell put his face in his hands. "Bridget, you're not a doctor. You failed out. I knew 4 months ago. The school called me when Patricia wouldn't answer. Instead of honesty, you chose to keep lying. To everyone, including the man who loved you." Bridget started crying. "I also know about the $127,000 Patricia stole from my accounts over 3 years. Patricia stood up. "Mother, I didn't steal. You gave me power of attorney. You authorized those withdrawals." "Sit down, Mrs. Thompson," Sterling said quietly. "Or you'll be removed and forfeit any inheritance." She sat, her face white. The video continued. Patricia took power of attorney and used it to fund a lifestyle she couldn't afford. "I have bank records. I have receipts. I have documentation of every withdrawal and every lie about what the money was for. I could have stopped it, but I wanted to see how far you'd go. The answer: you'd bleed me dry and then ask for more." Grandma's face softened as she looked directly into the camera. "Hazel, my sweet girl. You visited every week. You called every day. You loved me without expecting anything. You built your own life. You didn't need me, but you wanted me. That's love. This will reflect who earned my trust and who betrayed it." The video ended. The lights came back on. My mother's face was a mix of rage and panic. Russell looked like he might throw up. Bridget was openly sobbing. Sterling opened a folder. Total estate value: $4.2 million, comprising house valued at $890,000, investments totaling $2.8 million, and savings of $510,000. Patricia leaned forward, already calculating. "Distribution is as follows." Sterling read from the document. "To Patricia Marie Thompson, $1. The room went silent. $1? Patricia's voice was a whisper. Sterling continued reading. Quote, $1. For the one time you told me you loved me without asking for money after. I believe that was in 1994. End quote. This is illegal, Patricia hissed. She wasn't in her right mind. I'll contest this. Mrs. Thompson was evaluated by 2 independent neurologists 1 week before signing. She was completely lucid. This will is ironclad. To Russell James Thompson, $1. Quote, $1. For staying married to my daughter despite hating her. That takes commitment, even if misplaced. End quote. Russell didn't react, just sat there like a statue. To Bridget Ann Thompson, $50,000 in an educational trust, accessible only for tuition, books, or medical treatment. Quote, $50,000 in a trust you can only access for education or medical treatment. not cash, not discretionary. Prove you want to accomplish something real. End quote. Bridget looked up. That's it? 50,000? That's $49,998. More than your mother got, Sterling said without emotion. To Hazel Marie Thompson, the remaining $4,149,998, plus the house, all physical possessions, vehicles, jewelry, and any other assets not specifically mentioned. All free and clear of any liens or obligations. The room exploded. Patricia lunged toward me. You manipulated her. You poisoned her against us. Security guards I hadn't noticed by the door stepped forward. Patricia stopped, trembling with rage. There's more, Sterling said. Mrs. Thompson also filed documentation with the district attorney regarding financial elder abuse. Patricia, you're being formally charged. The DA's office will be in contact within 72 hours. You can't do this, Patricia whispered. It's already done. Evidence has been submitted. You have the right to legal counsel. Russell, you signed documents co-authorizing some withdrawals. You're named as an accomplice. My father finally spoke. I want a lawyer. That's your right. This meeting is concluded. Patricia and Russell, you'll need to leave the premises. Hazel, please stay. We have paperwork to complete. My mother looked at me as security escorted her out, not with sadness or regret, with pure hatred. You did this, she said. You turned her against me. You stole my inheritance. You destroyed this family. I met her eyes calmly. No, you did that all by yourself. I just stopped pretending you hadn't. The door closed behind them. I sat in the silence, surrounded by the ashes of the family I'd been born into, and felt nothing but relief. The week after the will reading passed, in a blur of legal proceedings, media attention, and desperate attempts from my family to contact me, I blocked every number, ignored every email, and forwarded everything to Sterling, who handled it with professional efficiency. The district attorney moved faster than anyone expected. The evidence Grandma and Sterling had compiled was overwhelming. Bank statements, forged signatures, video footage from Grandma's apartment showing Patricia taking documents without permission. Emails between Patricia and Russell discussing how much money they could extract before Grandma died. Patricia was formally charged with 17 counts of financial elder abuse and fraud. The local news picked up the story. Daughter arrested for stealing over $100,000 from dying mother. The coverage was brutal. Patricia's face on every local channel. Her mugshot shared thousands of times online. Her carefully constructed perfect life evaporated overnight. The country club revoked her membership. Her book club asked her to leave. Friends who'd attended her elaborate birthday dinner blocked her number. The social currency she'd spent decades accumulating became worthless in 48 hours. Russell faced 8 counts as an accomplice. He'd signed documents claiming Grandma approved various withdrawals. He'd co-signed loans taken out in her name. He'd actively participated in the theft, even if Patricia had been the primary orchestrator. Colette, his mistress, left him immediately. She wanted no association with a man facing criminal charges. She emptied their shared apartment and moved to another state within a week. Russell's job fired him. Company policy prohibited employing anyone under indictment for financial crimes. Russell filed for divorce from Patricia 3 days after the charges were announced. His lawyer's strategy was clear: distance himself from Patricia's actions to reduce his own sentence. Patricia fought the divorce. "You don't get to leave me now," she screamed during a court appearance caught on camera. "We're in this together." But Russell was done. For the first time in 30 years, he made a choice that wasn't about avoiding conflict. He chose self-preservation over loyalty to his wife. Bridget's situation was almost as dire. Kenneth's family sued her for the return of the $50,000 engagement ring. They claimed the engagement was based on fraudulent representation of her education and future earning potential. Their lawyer argued that Bridget had obtained the ring under false pretenses. Bridget couldn't afford a lawyer. She represented herself in small claims court and lost. The judge ordered her to surrender the ring within 30 days or face contempt charges. The trust fund Grandma left her provided no immediate help. The terms were clear. Money could only be accessed for educational expenses or medical treatment, not living expenses, not legal fees, not bail if it came to that. Bridget tried to enroll in community college to access the fund, but her academic dismissal from medical school made her ineligible for most programs. She needed to complete remedial courses first and prove she could handle college-level work. That would take months. She got a job as a receptionist at a dental office. $8 an hour, 40 hours a week, no benefits. Her first real job ever at age 25. Meanwhile, I was adapting to a completely different reality. I'd inherited $4.2 million. A house, a car, jewelry, furniture. Everything Grandma had owned was now mine. Sterling helped me set up meetings with a financial advisor, an estate attorney, and an accountant. We structured the inheritance carefully. Conservative investments generating steady returns. Emergency fund fully stocked. Business account for my design work fully capitalized. I made one major decision immediately. I quit my graphic design job and started my own firm, Dorothy & Company Creative Studio, a tribute to the woman who'd saved me. I moved into Grandma's house. The 4-bedroom Victorian I'd visited every week for 28 years. Walking through those rooms without her was painful, but it also felt right, like she was still there somehow, in the books on the shelves and the garden she'd tended and the photographs on the walls. I removed every trace of Patricia from the house. The few photos that included her went into storage. The gifts she'd given Grandma over the years, usually impersonal and expensive things bought to impress rather than please, I donated. I kept everything that mattered. Grandma's recipe cards in her handwriting, her favorite chair by the window, the quilts she'd made, the wind chimes that sang on the back porch. 2 weeks after the will reading, the first letter arrived, hand-delivered by Patricia's public defender. Hazel, I'm your mother. Please help me. This is a misunderstanding. Grandma was confused. She didn't understand what she was signing. You know I loved her. Please withdraw the charges. I could go to prison. Your sister needs her mother. Our family needs to stay together. I said things I didn't mean. You're my daughter. I love you. Please call me. I read it once. Then I handed it to Sterling. Add it to the evidence file. She's going to keep trying, he warned me. I know. I'm ready. Bridget's attempt came next. She showed up at the house unannounced on a Sunday afternoon. I saw her through the doorbell camera, standing on the porch where she'd stood dozens of times before. But everything was different now. I answered through the speaker. Leave. Hazel, please. We're sisters. You can't do this to family. You told me 2 months ago that I wasn't family, that I was the family disappointment, that I brought the vibe down. I agreed with you. Nothing's changed. I'll apologize. I'll do anything. I have nothing. You have $50,000 in an educational trust. Use it. That's not enough to live on. Then get a job. Like I did when I was 16 and you were still getting an allowance. I ended the connection. She sat on the porch for 3 hours. Eventually, I called the police non-emergency line and reported someone refusing to leave my property. They came and escorted her away. Russell's approach was different. An email sent at 3 a.m., clearly written while drunk or in the middle of a breakdown. Hazel, I stayed silent when I should have protected you. I'm a coward. Dorothy was right about that. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I need to try. Can we talk? I want to explain why I let Patricia control everything. I want you to understand I didn't hate you. I was just weak. I'm sorry. Your father who failed you. I stared at that email for a long time. Part of me wanted to respond, wanted to hear what excuse he could possibly offer for 28 years of silence while his wife destroyed his daughter's self-worth. But I knew it wouldn't help, wouldn't change anything. Understanding why he was a coward didn't make him less of one. I replied, "You had 28 years to protect me. You chose not to. That wasn't weakness, that was choice. Accept the consequences of your choices." He didn't write back. 3 weeks after Grandma's death, the plea deal came. The district attorney offered Patricia a deal. Plead guilty to reduce charges. Serve 3 years in minimum security prison. 5 years probation after release. And full restitution of $127,000. The alternative: go to trial, face maximum 10 years in prison if convicted, and probable conviction given the overwhelming evidence. Patricia's public defender urged her to take the deal. You'll lose at trial. The evidence is too strong. 3 years is a gift. Patricia refused. I won't let Hazel win. Her lawyer tried again. Hazel already won. This is about minimizing your loss. I'm innocent. A jury will see that. The lawyer looked at her like she was delusional. Maybe she was. Maybe she'd spent so long constructing a reality where she was the victim that she actually believed it. Trial was set for 6 months away. In the meantime, word spread. Dorothy's friends from church, her book club, her garden society, they all reached out to me. Dozens of women who'd watched Patricia mistreat her mother for years came forward. One woman, Lorraine, invited me to lunch. She was 82, sharp as a tack, and had been Grandma's best friend for 40 years. Your grandmother talked about you constantly, she told me. She was so proud of you, and so heartbroken about how Patricia treated you. Why didn't anyone say anything? I asked. We tried. Dorothy asked us not to interfere. She said Patricia was her daughter, and she kept hoping she'd change. That maternal hope never dies, I suppose, even when it should. Lorraine submitted a character statement to the DA. So did 15 other women who'd witnessed Patricia's behavior over the years. The prosecution's case grew stronger by the day. My Aunt Maureen showed up at my door 4 weeks after the will reading. I almost didn't let her in. She'd been part of that group chat. She'd laughed at jokes about me, but she'd also been the one to accidentally add me, which had given me evidence I needed. I should have said something years ago, she told me, standing in the doorway. I watched Patricia destroy you. I'm sorry. You laughed at the jokes in the group chat. I know. I was wrong. I was scared of Patricia. She controlled everything in the family. If you disagreed with her, you were out. Not anymore, I said quietly. Can I do anything to make it right? Testify honestly if you're called. That's all. She agreed. And then she left. We weren't friends. Probably never would be. But maybe we didn't have to be enemies either. As the trial date approached, Patricia's desperation grew. She tried to contact me through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, even Venmo. Every platform blocked, every message unread. She showed up at my business address. I'd anticipated that and had already instructed building security to deny her access. They did. She screamed in the lobby about her rights as a mother until they threatened to call the police. She tried to reach me through my clients, actually contacted 3 of them, introducing herself as my mother and saying there was a family emergency they needed to help with. 2 of my clients called me to verify. The 3rd fired me on the spot, not wanting to deal with family drama. Sterling sent her a cease and desist letter. If she continued attempting to contact me directly or through third parties, we'd file for a restraining order and add harassment charges to her existing legal problems. The attempt stopped, but I knew she wasn't giving up. She was just changing tactics. The trial was going to be brutal for everyone involved, but especially for Patricia, who still believed she could charm a jury into seeing her as the victim of a manipulative daughter and a confused elderly mother. She had no idea what was coming. 6 months after Grandma's death, Patricia's trial began. I'd been warned it would be difficult to watch, but nothing fully prepared me for seeing my mother's life dissected in open court. The prosecution's case was methodical and devastating. Bank records showing 47 unauthorized withdrawals over 3 years. Grandma's journal entries, read aloud in court, documenting each time Patricia asked for money and each lie she told about what it was for. Video footage that broke my heart to watch. Grandma had installed security cameras in her assisted living apartment 6 months before she died. She'd told Sterling it was for her protection, but really it was to document Patricia's behavior. The footage showed Patricia visiting, all smiles and warmth when staff were present. Then, once alone, her face changing, becoming cold, demanding. Footage of her taking Grandma's checkbook while Grandma slept, taking credit cards from her purse, taking documents that she'd later forged signatures on. The prosecution played a particularly damning clip. Patricia visiting on a Tuesday afternoon, Grandma saying she couldn't afford to give her any more money, and Patricia's response, "Then what good are you? You're sitting on a fortune while your granddaughter needs medical school tuition." What kind of mother chooses money over her child's future? Grandma's quiet response, "Bridget isn't in medical school anymore, Patricia. The school called me last week. She failed out." Patricia's face on that video, caught in the lie, then recovering. "She's taking a semester off. She'll re-enroll. I need money for her expenses until then." "No," Grandma said firmly. Patricia stood, grabbed her purse, and left without another word. As she walked out, the camera caught her taking an envelope from Grandma's desk. Later, bank records showed that envelope contained blank checks that Patricia used to withdraw $15,000 the next day. The defense attorney, a tired-looking public defender named Marcus, tried his best. He argued that Patricia had power of attorney and genuinely believed she was managing her mother's affairs appropriately. That Dorothy was elderly and confused about what she'd approved. Then the prosecution called its medical witnesses. 2 neurologists who'd evaluated Grandma 1 week before she signed her will. Both testified that she was fully cognizant, understood exactly what she was doing, and showed no signs of dementia or diminished capacity. One neurologist, Dr. Chen, noted, "Mrs. Thompson was sharper than most 40-year-olds I know. She remembered dates, numbers, details of conversations from months prior. There was absolutely nothing wrong with her mental capacity. She knew exactly what she was doing and why." The prosecution called me to testify on day 3. I'd been dreading it, but Sterling had prepared me well. The prosecutor, a woman named Lisa, walked me through my relationship with Grandma, how often I visited, what we talked about, how she'd confided in me about Patricia's behavior. "Did your grandmother ever tell you she felt taken advantage of?" Lisa asked. "Yes. She told me she knew Patricia was stealing from her. She showed me bank statements and explained how Patricia would claim the money was for one thing, but use it for something else. Why didn't she stop it sooner? She wanted to see how far Patricia would go, whether she'd ever stop on her own, whether there was any limit to what she'd take. Was there? No. Patricia would have taken everything if Grandma hadn't died when she did." Marcus cross-examined me, trying to suggest I'd manipulated Grandma, poisoned her against Patricia, positioned myself to inherit. "Isn't it true you visited Mrs. Thompson multiple times per week?" "Yes." "And you were aware of her substantial wealth?" "I knew she owned her house and had savings. I didn't know the specific amounts until after she died. But you visited her regularly, brought her gifts, spent time with her. Weren't you cultivating a relationship to secure your inheritance?" I looked at him calmly. "I visited my grandmother because I loved her, because she was kind to me, Because talking to her was the only time I felt like someone in my family actually cared whether I existed. If that's manipulation, then I guess I'm guilty. The courtroom was silent. Did you ever ask your grandmother for money? No. Never? Not once in 28 years? Not once. She gave you $4 million and you claim you never asked for any of it? That's correct. That's convenient. No, I said quietly. It's tragic. I would trade every dollar to have her back. Can your client say the same? Marcus sat down. He had no response to that. Patricia took the stand on day 4. It was a disaster. She played the grieving daughter, crying about how much she loved her mother, how she'd only tried to help manage her finances. Lisa tore her apart on cross-examination. Mrs. Thompson, you told your mother in a recorded conversation that money was needed for facility upgrades. The money actually went to pay off your husband's gambling debts. Is that helping manage her finances? I meant to pay her back. With what money? Your bank records show you were $30,000 in debt at the time. I was going to get a loan. You told your mother the money was for your daughter's medical school tuition. But your daughter had already failed out of medical school. Isn't that correct? Patricia hesitated. She was planning to re-enroll. That's not what I asked. Had she failed out when you took the money? Yes. But yes or no, Mrs. Thompson? Yes. So you lied to your mother to steal her money. I didn't steal. I had power of attorney. Power of attorney is a legal responsibility to act in the person's best interests. Did stealing $127,000 act in your mother's best interests? Patricia had no answer. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all 17 counts. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. The judge, a woman in her 60s named Judge Martinez, reviewed the evidence carefully before speaking. I've been on the bench for 20 years. I've seen financial elder abuse cases before, but the emotional cruelty documented in this case elevates it beyond typical theft. Mrs. Thompson, you didn't just steal your mother's money. You stole her dignity. You exploited her love. And you've shown no genuine remorse throughout these proceedings. The court sentences you to 8 years in state prison, followed by 5 years probation. You will pay full restitution of $127,000 plus interest to the estate. You're remanded to custody immediately. Patricia's face went white. 8 years. She'd turned 55 2 months ago. She'd be 63 when she got out, if she even got out that soon. Parole wasn't guaranteed. Russell's trial was separate but equally swift. He pleaded guilty to avoid a longer sentence and got 4 years as an accomplice. He'd be out in 3 with good behavior. But his life was effectively over too. His career destroyed. His marriage ended. His reputation ruined. I watched both sentencings from the gallery. I didn't feel triumphant. Didn't feel vindicated. Just sad. Sad that this was my family. Sad that it had come to this. Sad that 28 years of toxicity had ended in a courtroom with my parents in handcuffs. After Russell's sentencing, he looked back at me as they led him away. Our eyes met. He mouthed, "I'm sorry." I nodded. Not forgiveness. Just acknowledgement that he'd finally said it, even if it was 28 years too late. 1 year after Grandma's death, I stood in her garden, my garden now, planting a new rosebush. A rare variety I'd spent months tracking down, deep purple with white edges. I'd named it Dorothy's Legacy. The past year had been transformative in ways I couldn't have imagined. Dorothy & Co. Creative Studio had grown beyond my expectations. 12 employees now. People I'd hired carefully based on talent and character. Revenue in the first year, $890,000. My specialty became rebranding for family businesses, particularly ones transitioning between generations or recovering from conflict. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd lived through the worst kind of family dysfunction, and somehow that made me uniquely qualified to help others rebuild. Therapy had been essential. Twice a week initially, working through 28 years of trauma with a psychologist who specialized in complex PTSD from long-term emotional abuse. The diagnosis had actually helped. Giving a name to what I'd experienced made it feel less like a personal failing and more like a rational response to an irrational situation. Dating again had been terrifying. I'd gone on exactly 3 dates in the past year, all disasters, before meeting Xavier. He was an architect, kind in a way that felt foreign at first. Drama-free in a way that made me suspicious until I learned to trust it. His family was everything, mine wasn't. Warm, functional, actually interested in who I was rather than what I could do for them. The first holiday dinner at his parents' house, his mother Alma asked me about my work, my interests, my opinions on everything from politics to books to what I thought about the new Italian restaurant downtown. I'd excused myself to cry in the bathroom. Not from sadness, but from the overwhelming experience of being treated like my thoughts mattered. Alma found me there. "You okay, honey?" "I've never been asked what I think before," I admitted. She hugged me tightly. "You'll be asked here every time." The inheritance had given me freedom I'd never experienced. Not just financial freedom, though that was significant, but freedom from the constant fear of economic precarity that had haunted my entire adult life. Freedom to take risks with my business. Freedom to say no to clients who reminded me too much of my mother. Freedom to build a life on my own terms. I'd set up the Dorothy Thompson Foundation with returns from the invested inheritance. The foundation helped survivors of family abuse, paid for therapy, housing deposits, legal fees for people escaping toxic situations. First year, we'd helped 47 people leave abusive families and start new lives. Every person we helped felt like honoring Grandma's memory. She'd saved me. Now I could help save others. Patricia remained in prison. I'd received monthly letters from her for the first 6 months, all returned unopened. Eventually, they stopped coming. Sterling told me she'd lost multiple privileges for behavior violations. She couldn't accept responsibility, couldn't admit fault, and that made her a difficult inmate. Her earliest parole eligibility was 6 years away. Given her behavior, she'd likely serve the full 8 years. Russell had been a model prisoner, surprisingly. He'd taken responsibility in therapy, completed anger management and financial literacy courses, stayed out of trouble. He'd written me one letter, 3 months into his sentence. "I don't ask for forgiveness. I ask that you live well. You deserved a father who protected you. I'm sorry I wasn't him. I hope you build a beautiful life. Russell." I'd kept that letter, didn't respond, but something had shifted. Not forgiveness exactly, more like release. I stopped carrying anger toward him because carrying it hurt me more than it hurt him. Maureen had surprised me. She'd testified honestly at Patricia's trial, detailing years of witnessing abuse and saying nothing. After the trial, she'd started sending birthday cards. Never pushy, never demanding relationship. Just acknowledgement, thinking of you, proud of you. Love, Aunt Maureen. 3 years after Grandma's death, I sent a card back. Just 3 words. "Thank you, Hazel." Small, but something. Maybe not family in the traditional sense, but not enemies either. Bridget's path had been harder. She'd used the trust fund to enroll in community college, studying nursing instead of medicine. More realistic, more sustainable. She'd sent me a letter a year after the trial. "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it, but I want you to know I'm trying to become someone Grandma wouldn't be ashamed of, someone you wouldn't hate. I'm sorry for who I was. I'm trying to be better. Bridget." I didn't respond, but I didn't throw the letter away either. I put it in a drawer with Russell's letter, evidence that maybe, possibly, some people could change. 3 years after that text message that had ended my relationship with my mother, I was standing in the garden when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't look, but something made me check. Hazel, it's Mom. I'm out. Early release for overcrowding. I've changed. I did therapy in prison. I understand now what I did wrong. Can we please talk? I'm your mother. I love you. Please give me one chance. Xavier came out with lemonade and sat beside me on the garden bench. You okay? My mother got out of prison early. She wants to talk. What do you want to do? I looked at the text for a long moment. Read it twice. Thought about the woman who'd raised me, who'd spent 28 years making me feel worthless, who disowned me via text and then demanded I fix her life when it fell apart. I thought about the life I'd built without her. The business, the foundation, the relationship with Xavier and his family, the peace I'd found in Grandma's house. I typed my response carefully. You had 28 years of chances. I gave you everything. You gave me nothing. I don't hate you. I don't think about you. That's worse, isn't it? You're not my villain anymore. You're just someone I used to know. Don't contact me again. This number will block you after this message sends. I hope you find peace, but not with me. Goodbye. I hit send, then blocked the number, put my phone down, returned to planting roses. Xavier watched me carefully. Feel good? I feel free, and I did. Finally, completely free. 5 years after Grandma's death, the Dorothy Thompson Foundation had helped over 200 people escape abusive families. My business was thriving. My employees treated like the family I'd chosen rather than the one I'd been born into. Xavier proposed in the garden among Dorothy's roses. I said yes without hesitation. We married 6 months later in a small ceremony with 30 people, chosen family, friends who'd become siblings, Xavier's warm, wonderful parents, Maureen, who'd earned her place through years of consistent effort. No one from my blood family was invited. Bridget sent a gift anyway, a card that said, "Congratulations, you deserved better than us. I hope you found it." I donated the gift to the foundation but kept the card. Another piece of evidence that people could change, even if that change came too late to repair what they'd broken. I visited Grandma's grave every week, brought fresh roses from the garden, sat on the bench nearby and talked to her like she could hear me. You asked if I was ready for them to destroy themselves. I told her one sunny afternoon. I wasn't, but I survived it anyway. You taught me that family isn't blood. It's who shows up, who stays, who loves without conditions. Thank you for showing up for me. I'm showing up for others now. Your legacy isn't the money, though that helps. It's the lesson. Some people earn your presence. Others earn your absence. I finally learned the difference. A breeze moved through the roses, and I swear I could hear her voice. I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. Rest easy, Grandma. I'm okay. Actually, I'm better than okay. I stood, brushed dirt from my jeans, and headed home. To the house that was mine now. To the life I'd built from the ashes of the family that tried to destroy me. To the future that was finally, beautifully, completely my own. I'd won. Not by destroying them, but by refusing to let their destruction touch me anymore. And that, I'd learned, was the best revenge of all. So here's what I want to know from all of you watching this. Have you ever had a family member who tried to control you through guilt? Who made you feel like you owed them everything just for existing? And if you finally walked away, was there that same moment I had where you realized freedom felt better than their approval ever could have? Drop your story in the comments because I know I'm not alone in this. If this resonated with you, if you've been the scapegoat in your own family or you're trying to break free right now, hit that like button so I know this story reached the people who needed it. Subscribe because I'll be sharing more about building a life after family trauma and how the foundation is helping others do the same. Share this with anyone who needs to hear that it's okay to choose yourself over toxic family. That blood doesn't determine loyalty. that sometimes the family you choose is better than the family you're born into. Thank you for listening to my story, for being here, for being part of the community I'm building, of people who understand that healing is possible and justice sometimes comes in the quietest, most unexpected ways. I hope whatever you're going through, whatever family drama you're navigating, you find your own version of freedom. You deserve peace. You deserve people who love you without conditions. And you absolutely deserve to walk away from anyone who makes you feel less than you are. Take care of yourselves out there, and remember, the best revenge isn't destruction. It's living so well that they become irrelevant to your happiness. See you in the next one.